everybody. You are watching Think Bigger with Dr. Mark J Romano. Today, I'm excited to have this guest, dear friend of mine for many years, the mayor of Pontotoc, Bob Peeples. Bob, how's everything going?
Going good, Dr. Mark. I appreciate your friendship over the years.
Yes, sir.
Also, appreciate the opportunities to get the good word out about Pontotoc.
Absolutely. And you're doing, I love the job that you're doing, Mayor. Tell us a little bit about your background. I came to Pontotoc as a chiropractor in 1996. We became friends quickly. I was renovating my building and eventually my house, and you had a carpet store where we first met, and flooring, and where I bought my flooring, and fantastic job. And you were always heavily involved in the community. So give us give us your story. Where were you born, and how did you get to Pontotoc?
I was born actually just outside Chicago. My parents, who are from Pontotoc for several generations, moved up there to get jobs, and that's where my brother and I were born. But this has been home all my life. So in '76, we moved back down here, and my dad and I opened the floor covering store in 1979.
Wow.
So for 38 years, I ran a small business there. And I also got involved in politics,
Yeah.
and ran for alderman in '93 and won my first time I ran,
Amazing.
and did 3 terms as alderman at large in Pontotoc.
And as far as an alderman, what is the specific duties of an alderman?
An alderman in for instance the city of Pontotoc, they make the ordinances and rules of Pontotoc. They do the hiring, the firing, and the setting of wages. The mayor does the day-to-day operations and stuff. A lot of times, but the mayor's full-time, and in Pontotoc, the board's part-time. So sometimes the mayor ends up doing a little bit more because he's there more. So
Absolutely. And how often do the aldermen meet?
we have to meet the first Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock. We usually meet the third Tuesday at 6 o'clock also.
And there's the alderman, and then what is the difference between alderman and alderman at large?
Okay, alderman at large runs citywide, and then we have 4 wards in the city. So each of those wards has an alderman, and then one runs citywide.
Citywide, wide meaning in every single area.
Right, just like the mayor does, runs in the entire city. So, uh, you know, wards you're mainly representing that small ward,
Right.
but at large you're the whole city and stuff.
The
So
whole
you
city.
get calls from all over the city.
And what is the distinction between mayor and alderman at large?
The usually it doesn't have to be, but usually it happens this way. The alderman at large is the vice mayor. So if the mayor's out of town, the alderman at large assumes his duties and stuff. So he has a little bit more responsibilities, but no more pay or anything. But just a little more responsibilities usually.
I understand. There obviously has to be a love of community. Would you say love of community is what drove you into politics?
It did for me. And when I first got involved in it, I have 4 children. 3 of them are boys, my oldest 3. And our facilities for park and rec were not very good. We had basically one baseball field. And so for all age groups to play on. So I ran to try to get better facilities in Pontotoc, which we did accomplish that first term I was up there. So that was the main reason why I got involved. And then it just enjoyed what I was doing and continued on.
And how great did it feel to make that accomplishment?
It was important because I think it was needed, and it was needed for the city to grow, and it was especially needed to give our youth places for positive growth and a place to play. And so that worked great. I coached for 15 years in baseball. I also coached my boys as they came up. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so politics, doesn't always have a positive light. And when the longer I have been living in community, the more fascinated I've become with politics. One of the biggest complaints is that when a politician gets into office, that they don't do what they promised they were going to do. In this case, you had your agenda, which was to have more better playing facilities and youth development type of area. And it happened. And you got elected, which is a victory of itself. And then you've got these, what you ran on accomplished. Was that, I mean, how old was, because to me, that's exciting. You know what I'm saying? Did you feel just an overwhelming sense of accomplishment when this happened? Because this is really massively congruent, providing what you promised.
It's fulfilling to be able to accomplish things, just as in life. You know, if you
Yes.
accomplish something, it is. But a lot of times, what happens when you get up there, also, you find out there's a whole lot of other dynamics playing in a whole lot of different areas you didn't think much about. So you have to look at everything as an opportunity to find solutions for problems, and also how can we help the citizens of Pontotoc. Now, I believe that any elected official is a public servant, and I take that to heart. I mean, I feel like I am there to serve the public. The public has a problem and they come to me. Sometimes, there's things I can do and can't do,
Right.
but it's not just, I don't want to just tell them, no, we can't do that and walk away. I say, well, we can't do what you're thinking you want us to do, but let's see if we can find something, some common ground that we can work on and maybe help you with it and stuff. So it's, people, when they have a problem, they come, that's a very real problem to them, and you need to give them the time and try to find a solution for them.
And you do that, and you've done that. I've seen you do that over and over again. What was the biggest impetus to go from alderman and run for mayor?
I just felt, the mayor has a lot of sway in Pontotoc anyway, as far as getting the agenda before the board and dealing with day-to-day problems and all. And I just felt like with what I did in life in small business, that gave me a skill set that would transfer into being mayor. And I think it has, because it was in custom work where I was, my small business was. And so all I dealt with is having problems arise and how to deal with those and how to fix those and stuff. So that's a lot of what the mayor does is deal with situations that have arisen that need to be dealt with. And so my skill set fit that well, and I want to try my hand at it.
Absolutely. And do you find that having a business and being a part of the community and having that experience played a major role in your effectiveness in politics?
I do, because the city is nothing but a small business, in my opinion, and stuff like that. And so there's problems that arise in any small business, and it's important. It was important to me to put business values into running the city, and that's not always the case. Sometimes people look at the city as endless pile of money, or to do different things, and they don't understand. No, we've got to work under a budget. We've got to identify problems and go about how do we solve these problems and stuff like that. So same things that business people do every day. I think those qualities transfer into elected offices very well.
It makes perfect sense. You we talked a good bit, and there's a philosophical viewpoint that you have that I really enjoy, and that's, to put it short, the constant and never-ending improvement of whatever it is you're doing. Be the best you can possibly be at it.
I agree. Martin Luther King said it. If you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that's out there. When people walk by there and say, man, somebody's really doing a good job here, no matter what your call is in life, whether it's a mayor or a street sweeper or a fireman or water department, whatever, do the best you can. I think in order for society to progress, that needs to be done, and we need to give it our all, whatever job we do. And I believe that's the way that our community grows. I believe that's the way our country grows, and I believe that's the way we prosper as a country. So
Yeah, and I think the community aspect is something that isn't thought about enough, because our country was never built nor functioned from top down. It functioned from bottom up, from the communities up. That's how our country was built.
right, but it's easy when you get in elected office. There's power involved in it, and
Yes.
sometimes that's very intoxicating. and some people deal with it in different ways. Now, this is a corny analogy, but when I go to work in the morning, I try to pick up a piece of trash every morning between my car and City Hall. Usually, there's not a problem finding a piece of trash. And what that does is it gives me a mindset of that day is I'm doing my part in the community. I didn't drop the trash. I can say it's not my responsibility to pick it up, but somebody has to pick it up. Why not me? And so I want to, it's a silly analogy, but it sets my mind right for that day that I'm there to be a public servant and not there to go and get accolades all day. And it can be intoxicating knowing that you have power, that there are state officials and stuff that call you or know you by name and things like that. But you always have to remember that the people sent you there and that you have a duty to do representing them in a wholesome way. And that's very important to me.
And it makes perfect sense. That's your trigger. That trigger every morning. And sometimes it's probably hard to find a piece of trash every day, But
I wish it was a lot harder. I wish I had to look hard, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. So,
that sets your trigger for your mindset to
right.
be the most effective that you can be in that responsibility, that big picture.
Right.
So, man, that's powerful. So, I don't know why you try to downplay that, Mayor, because I think that's a powerful mindset to be in to create the powerful action of that constant progress for your community, for your constituent. Chris Voss, are you familiar with Chris Voss?
I'm not.
Well, he was an FBI hostage negotiator, and so he wrote a book called "Never Split the Difference: Negotiate as if your life depends on it." And he says there are three entities in a negotiation. The first entity is you know what you know, and that's what you're certain of. The other entity is you know what you don't know, and you're pretty certain about that. He said what gets you, what you don't see coming, is what he calls the black swan. What you don't know, you don't know. What have been some of your black swans?
Well, there are always things that pop up. Usually I start out the day, I'm a list maker, and I'll have a list of things I want to accomplish that day. Some days I'm able to whittle down most of them. Other days I never get to number one because things happen.
Yes.
Unexpected things happen, things that need my attention or that the workers need a direction on which way to go or how to handle it and stuff. So there's things that are constantly arising just because the world we live in, it's live. It's not, we don't get to plan out everything that happens and stuff. And so that is, I can't think of offhand of any, huge problem that caught us off guard, but they're just, daily life. So a water leak breaks and the different things that go into that are we need, vehicles break down. We need a new fire engine or something like that. That you just can't go to the fire engine store and buy one. You have to plan and figure that out and get it done. Sometimes very quickly. So you have to be able to think on your feet and look. And sometimes it's hard to you have to identify the problem. You got a problem, but when you get right down to it, what is the problem we're dealing with? Identify that problem and then figure a solution for it. So before I go to a board meeting, if I've got a project to do or a problem that's arisen that I need their approval on, I usually will go and identify the problem for them and then here's a solution I have, and give them the parameters of what we're dealing with to let them make an educated decision to give me direction on which way to go. And my boards have been real good about everybody pulling the same way on the rope. Sometimes boards get fractured and it can be a very difficult way to run a city. But, I want to be inclusive with everybody and make sure that they are pulling the same way on the rope and finding that commonality where we can put the city to make it go forward.
That's powerful. And what are some of the amazing accomplishments that have happened in Pontotoc, whether it's your administration or the ones before you, that people don't really know about?
Well, we have done a lot. We do a lot of things. There's a lot of things that get recognition if we build a building or do different things that people see every day. You know,
Yes.
those are great, and it's real nice. But there's other things that we do. For instance, when I took office, some of our computer software was so old it was in a language that's not even used anymore. So we had one department's computer could not talk to other departments' computers, so they were having to enter things in 2 or 3 times information.
Right.
Well, that's when mistakes happen and stuff. So we redid the entire software for the city. Well, nobody, really, in the city really cares or knew there was a problem or don't want to deal with it. But it's something that made the city. We were able to put in new software to remedy the problems and give us room to grow and to do other things that we haven't been doing, make us more productive and more professional. But it was, it's a very big undertaking when you're talking about redoing way things are done and everything. But we did that. That was a big undertaking that everybody kind of been kicking that can down the road. And I understand why, because it's one of those things that nobody really cares about, but it makes a big difference. But it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And you know, the water treatment system, the state of the art treatment system that Pontotoc has for the water.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on our utilities and stuff. The wastewater, the treatment plant that we have is state of the art. It was put in about almost 20 years ago, and is got plenty of room to grow with it and stuff. And that will actually be paid off in another 2 years. So it's been 18 years. But we've got that. Our water treatment is always tested on the high quality. It's tested every day, and Pontotoc has just got a lot of good things going for it, utility wise, like that. But we also have things like, although I don't have direct hands-on on the school system, that's completely separate. A lot of things we do affects the school system. One thing we do have is Class A rated schools, and that's a big thing because that's part of the puzzle. It gets people to come in here. It gets industries to come in here. When industries are looking for places, they'll ask about the schools because they know that their workers are going to be going to school here. They want a good education. We have good education in Pontotoc, and that's very important in the city. It's part of the puzzle that we need to get the good jobs in here to make this place where people want to live.
It's absolutely part of the fabric. There is no doubt, and the utilities, and the roads, and the safety.
Safety is a big thing. Our police force, we have one of a fairly large police force for a city our size, and the chief and I are on the same page on this. The best way to stop crime is to prevent it before it happens.
Absolutely.
So the beauty part is our board is very supportive of the police department, and our community is very supportive of the police department. They don't want the riffraff causing problems in the city limits, and we don't. So we have a high presence of police force. I don't want guys just on duty. I want them seen around town. And so if people want to create mischief, they might think we better go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And the beauty part is we've had very little violent crime in the last 7 years since I've been mayor, partly because of our police force. And I mean, mostly because of the police force and the job they do and the leadership in the police force. And we want people to view the police force as their friend and helpers, and be sure we want to have a relationship with people that they think to call us when times are tough, knowing that we're going to be there to help. So
and I could see that in the police force. Dear friends of mine, I've been fortunate to know some of them, knew some of them when they were kids, growing up, trained with some of them, wonderful folks. What's comparative? What's the crime rate? How does the crime rate in Pontotoc compare to other cities in the state?
I just was talking with the chief. He brought some figures to our last board meeting, and we're on a thing called NIBRS, and anyway, it's a statewide where every crime has to be put in this thing here.
Yes.
And he was showing the figures that we had, and it was very, very little what I call violent crime or felonies or things like that.
Yes.
And it's all because everything we type in, it goes into the system. So, but we have very little. In the few crimes we've had, a robbery or assault or things like that have all been solved usually within 24 to 48 hours. So it's good police work, and it's good visibility, and it's good community support, and it's it's a whole lot easier to for them to keep the crime out than try to remedy it once it gets a foothold in. So,
No question.
mm.
No question. Um, what uh, are you excited about that's coming up? I know Pontotoc has a lot of cool things going on. What are some of the things that we can look forward to?
We do a thing, and it's fixing to get cranked up here. Usually starts around end of May, 1st of June, and that's our Thursday night concert series. And we usually have uh, different bands come in on that Thursday night. We have a big pavilion where you get on the Rails to Trails Gateway there, and people just come. They bring lawn chairs. It's underneath the pavilion. We have those big fans that blow and keep it relatively cool, and it's good music. We have a lot of good music in Northeast Mississippi, especially in Pontotoc. And they play. We have all types of different music on different nights, and we anywhere from Terry Bean that plays the blues, travels all over Europe and everywhere else. Pontotoc native.
That's right.
That anyway, he's played there. Uh, we've had some that have been on American Idol,
Yes.
and we've had others that are just local bands that play in clubs and just play for fun and all. But it creates a family atmosphere where people come, they're able to sit and visit, much like we used to do a while back when people, before air conditioning, when people used to sit on the porch and visit with their neighbors and things like that. Now they're visiting at this venue, and there's food trucks down there. There's a big grassy area for the kids to run and play, and they're able where you can keep your eye on them, and so it's a little bit for everything. That's a big thing. We've also got things like there's a thing that one of the businesses started last year called Pontotoc Nights, and it's uh, uh, usually once a month, and we cordon off Main Street in Pontotoc, and they have vendors and a band down there, and they just all the merchants on the Main Street all open up. They it's a time to buy things and also just come and visit. And there's it's a kind of like a like the Bodoc Festival,
Yes.
which we have that comes in the fall, which has all types of vendors, has music, food trucks, and things like that. So it's the things like that that make community special and fun. And so it's nice to have things where especially families can come and bring everybody that doesn't break the bank, and people have fun. And so the Pontotoc citizens have always supported things like that well, and the merchants do well, the citizens like it, and it just makes for good atmosphere.
It sure does. And you know, there's a lot you can tell about any city from its downtown. And the Pontotoc downtown has such a variety of stores and boutiques and restaurants. So the big difference between Pontotoc nights on Saturday night and say the Bodoc is once a year. You have a variety of vendors from all over, whereas the Pontotoc night is specific to the shops and restaurants that are downtown, right? So
Right.
yes, and um, that, and I've been, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to tell you, if you came in from out of town and you went downtown Pontotoc night and you didn't know anybody,